Hello everyone, Vincent Teo from HDTV Test here. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about TCL's new 6 Series Mini LED television for 2020. If you remember from last year, the company launched the world's first Mini LED TV in the form of the flagship 8 Series. This year, the technology has trickled down to the more affordable 6 Series. But before I proceed with the rest of the specifications, I really want to explain to you why Mini LED is a step up over conventional LED LCD television. Don't get us wrong, Mini LED TV is still using LCD technology in the sense that a backlight is still required. This is unlike micro LED TVs, which I know some of you are waiting for, but the reality of the situation is that micro LED TV is so far from public commercialization that I think, if you don't have 6 figures lying around and you don't have a really big mansion to fit or install a micro LED TV, you don't even need to talk. And some of you wouldn't even spend a few £1,000s on a good self-emissive OLED. So I think the chances of micro LED really coming down to consumer level sizes and prices is really low over the next 3 to 5 years. But let's get back to Mini LED television. So the key thing about Mini LED TV that differentiates it from conventional LED LCD television is the size of the LEDs themselves. So here I have 2 light bulbs, if I can actually find them. I've been known to use props in other areas of my life from time to time to spice things up. But here, let's imagine that a conventional LED television will have LEDs that is similar to the size of this halogen lamp, whereas a mini LED will be sized similar to this really small halogen bulb here. So you can see the difference in size here. So let's say if I wanted to illuminate a room, let's say this room here, I can install either the bigger light bulb or the smaller halogen bulb here. But if you install a bigger light bulb, there is a limit to the number of light bulbs you can put in this room because, the size of the light bulb itself and also, the power that they draw, the heat that they generate. So in between each light bulb, there will be shadows, where the light doesn't actually illuminate. Whereas with Mini LED or the smaller halogen bulb here, you can put more light bulbs in the room to provide a more even illumination, therefore eliminating the shadows to provide a more even lighting across the entire surface. And one of the key benefits of Mini LED technology over conventional LED LCD would be an improvement in screen uniformity. And certainly last year when I reviewed the TCL 8 series, I thought that it delivered the best screen uniformity from that company because when I reviewed the 6 series, I think 2 years ago, I flew to the States to review that. I think I really liked the contrast and the value for money that it provided, but the screen uniformity was quite average or even below average in the sense that there is quite a lot of dirty screen effect and also banding, whereas the TCL 8 series Mini LED television was a significant improvement in that regard. And is provided for by this smaller Mini LED television. You can actually put more in the backplane and provide a more even illumination across the entire screen. And because this is smaller as well, it can actually get closer to the front panel and provide a higher peak brightness as well. So that is another advantage of Mini LED television. And the other advantage would obviously be in the number of local dimming zones, because if you can imagine using a big LED to illuminate the backlight, you can only fit this many in a panel. And the number of zones can never exceed the number of LEDs. Whereas, if you actually use smaller mini LEDs, you can have more number of zones because, these LEDs can give a more precise zoning properties to the backlight. And with that in mind, I would like to say that TCL's new 6 series mini LED television, they're also known as the R635. They are full array local dimming. LED LCD TV. Well, mini LED LCD TV. That's a mouthful. That's what she said. The 6 series will come in 3 screen sizes, 55-inch, 65-inch, and also 75-inch. And the 55-inch will have 128 local dimming zones. The 65-inch model will have 160 local dimming zones, and the 75-inch version will have 240 local dimming zones. And let's go to the color side of things then. This 6 series television from TCL will be using quantum dot enhancement film, so they will be using quantum dot technology to achieve a wider color gamut. And DCI-P3 color volume coverage has been spec'd at 100% of DCI-P3. And from the calibration side of things, I think they are still using their mobile app for calibration purposes in terms of the grayscale and the CMS, and you may even need to use the mobile app to disable noise reduction and change the gamma to a more accurate gamma to track BT8086 for nighttime viewing in a dark room. But they are also providing an IPQ calibration software on certain phones where you can use the phone of the camera to take a grayscale picture on the screen and then make some adjustment to try and counter drift of the colors or grayscale over time. And I think the 2 phones that are approved are the Google Pixel phones and also the iPhone, because their camera are more accurate than other phones on the market. So that's from the color point of view. Next, we move on to the design before I move on to the rest, before I forget, because so many details to cover and I'm just really riffing here. So from the point of the design, new for 2020, the feed can be placed either at both ends of the display, or you can actually place it alternately inwards to put it on a narrower AV furniture. So in other words, you basically, yes, you get to choose how wide you want to spread the legs. And also another new design feature, I think, on TCL TV is that the 6 series and also the step-down 5 series will have cable management. The feed will have grooves behind for you to route any dangling cables through to the back. So that will be another improvement. I think, when I reviewed the TCL 8 series, one thing that struck me was that the wires really had no way to be routed properly. Maybe we had to resort to using some gaffer tape to try and make things tidy when I did my product shot from the front. But this has been rectified on the 6 series and also the 5 series. Next, let's cover HDMI 2.1 and other HDR features then. So from the point of view of HDMI 2.1, I don't think the TCL 6 series will have a true 40 gigabits per second or 48 gigabits per second HDMI 2.1 chipset, because it doesn't support 4K at 120 Hz for gameplay. But they do support all other HDMI 2.1 features of eARC, that's Enhanced Audio Return Channel, Variable Refresh Rate or VRR, and also they will support ALLM or Auto Low Latency Mode. In fact, the TCL 6 series is the world's first TV to be THX certified for its game mode. I mean, this is something new. I think the press release came out last week. So I looked up the press release, and for a TV to be certified for game mode by THX, it needs to fulfill 6 criteria. And one of the criteria is speed. It needs to have a 120 Hz refresh rate, a 120 Hz panel. So the TCL 6 series will have a 120 Hz panel for 2020, meaning the R635 will have a 120 Hz panel, which will please probably many of you out there, because I think TCL has been sticking with 60 Hz panel on their lower end models for quite some time. But on the 6 series, to fulfill the THX certified game mode, they have to implement a 120 Hz panel on the R635. And this will also mean that the variable refresh rate, the range, will cover 48 to 120 Hz in terms of the variable refresh rate. I don't know about G-Sync, I don't know about FreeSync, but we will find out more details from TCL later. And let's get back to THX Game Mode. It will be a separate preset and it will have ALLM incorporated inside it. So when you play a game, it will automatically engage the THX-certified Game Mode, and the 6 criteria are input lag. So it will have quite a low input lag, and it will have clarity. And when I read the description, the clarity says that it will support judder and smear reduction and also some backlight scanning. So maybe backlight scanning or backlight insertion can still be engaged in game mode to provide improved motion clarity. And then there will be rise time as well. So one of the feature that a TV needs to fulfill before it can pass or be certified by THX for its game mode would be a very fast rise time from dark to bright. So hopefully this will reduce any overdrive artifacts or reduce the incidence of inverse ghosting that we've seen on other QLED LED LCDs. And we've talked about ALLM, which they use the term smart to describe, as in the TV will be smart enough to know that a game is playing and it will automatically switch into game mode. And then there will be 2 other things. Oh, one of it is colors. Now, I was quite perturbed by the way they describe colors. I think, under the description in THX press release, they said that because games generally use more vibrant colors than movies, the organization wanted to make sure that the TV can adjust its colors accordingly to provide a more vibrant picture. But in my mind, I think that many games these days, they are mastered to Hollywood standards. So we wouldn't want a color performance that is more saturated than the reference standard. We really want to try and fulfill what the game studio intended in terms of the color accuracy. So that's something that maybe, is worth checking out if I ever get my hands on reviewing the television. And in the THX press release, there was no mention about local dimming. Now, from my review of previous TCL TVs, I think, once you engage game mode, local dimming would be switched off to provide the lowest input lag. Once you engage local dimming to improve the picture quality and contrast, then the input lag would go up. So I don't know how that will translate on the 6 series, but that's THX game mode. So let's talk about HDR support. It will support HDR10 static metadata. It will support the broadcast-friendly HLG, and it will support the proprietary Dolby Vision format. And these are all tied in by the Roku TV smart platform. But it doesn't support HDR10 Plus, which I think is not really a big deal, to be honest. I think HDR10 Plus has lost traction, so much traction since Dolby Laboratory has signed up all major streaming platforms. I think only Amazon Prime Video is still using HDR10 Plus, and in my side-by-side comparison, albeit with an OLED, I couldn't see any difference from HDR10 to HDR10 Plus. And I generally think, it's not a big deal not supporting HDR10 Plus. By this time, you probably want to know about the price and availability. I think, the 6 series, some of the sizes anyway, would be available to pre-order or buy as of today, apparently. And the price is extremely competitive as always from TCL, and the 55-inch R635 will retail at $650. The 65-inch R635 will retail at $900, under the magical 1,000 bucks mark, which is going to be very tempting to many of you. And I think the 75-inch R635 will retail at $1,400. And again, these are prices that us Europeans can only dream of. I think to get 128 zones, quantum dot colors, mini LED technology on a 55-inch version that can support up to 120 Hz gameplay, VRR, eARC, ALLM for $650 is really a bargain. And obviously, I hope I get the opportunity to run some tests or receive a review sample to give you a verdict on the picture quality of these sets, which brings me to my next point. I I'm really grateful for some of you for contributing to my Patreon campaign. Now I have a small amount of money there, and I really want to spend it buying some TVs from the States to review, importing some TVs from the States to review. I think on top of my list would be certainly the TCL 6 series, and also maybe the Vizio OLED, and also the Hisense H9G. But I'm not sure whether these TVs will work in the UK. I think most TVs these days are dual voltage anyway, but it will be good to check. And also I will need to find some way, maybe if you are consumer electronics retailer and if you want to hook up, maybe I'm happy to pay and buy these TVs as long as it gets here in one piece. Then I can review them and publish a review crediting you. And this goes for anyone watching in China as well. 所以你们在中国观看这个视频的朋友们，我想要买一些中国的电视机来校正和测试，好像华为 V65，好像海信的双屏电视，好像小米的大师 OLED， 我都想测试一下。所以假如你认识什么商家还是什么经营商有卖电视的，我想进口这些电视，我会付钱，然后我会测试这些电视，希望你可以帮忙一下。So yes, that's the TCL 6 series. I'm really excited about it. I think the only thing that may put some people off will be the lack of true HDMI 2.1 support, but I think generally if you have VRR and if you can support ALLM, I'm not entirely sure whether you need the full 4K at 120 Hz. I don't know whether many games will support that on the new upcoming PS5 or Xbox Series X anyway. I think obviously, these are all just speculations until these consoles arrive. If you found this video useful, please click the like button and subscribe to the HDTV Test YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.